We have just enjoyed the Winter Olympic Games with incredible performances, big emotions and amazing results. But in recent editions of the Olympic Winter Games we have seen multiple problems arise. While the Summer Olympics can be hosted almost anywhere, the Winter Games rely on an important thing: cold temperatures. But before we can dive into this, how did the Winter Olympic Games even start? The Olympic Games originated in ancient Greece in 776 BCE and went on till 393 CE when it was banned. The modern Olympics found a revival in the year 1896 in Athens, with the first woman allowed to compete in 1900. Before the year 1924, some of the winter sports were part of the normal Olympics, like figure skating in 1908 and ice hockey in 1920. In the year 1924, the first Winter Games in Chamonix, France featured sports like the bobsleigh, curling, ice hockey and speed skating. 16 nations competed at these games, with in total 258 athletes competing. These Winter Games in Chamonix were in 1926 officially recognized by the IOC as the first Olympic Winter Games. Till 1992, the Olympic Winter Games were held at the same time as the Summer Games, but the IOC decided to separate the events from 1992 onwards, and decided to alternate them every 2 years. In all these years, the Winter Olympics has visited many nations. From Chamonix to Sapporo, Lake Placid, Lillehammer, Beijing during COVID, and to the most recent one in Milano Cortina. But in recent years we have seen some problems at the Olympic Winter Games. With global temperatures rising and a changing climate by humans burning fossil fuels, the future of the Winter Olympics is at risk, the new research says. To host the Winter Olympics, you need good conditions: snow, freezing temperatures and no rain. But in recent Winter Games, there are difficulties in this area. For example, in Turin in 2006 we had temperatures near 10 degrees Celsius with rain. In Vancouver in 2010, rain created problems with the snow, what resulted in trucks and helicopters bringing over better snow from other areas. Sochi in 2014 experienced temperatures over 10 degrees Celsius. In Pyeongchang in 2018 there was a snow problem. While temperatures were cold, there was a lack of natural snow, what resulted in up to 90% of the snow being artificial made with snow machines. And in 2022, the Olympics in Beijing ran into the same problems, with lack of snow that resulted in almost 100% of the snow being artificial made. We arrive now at 2026 Olympic Winter Games in Milano Cortina, Italy, where there was enough snow, but the higher temperatures led to some problems, with bad quality snow and questions about safety and fairness in the competitions. And experts saying this will be an ongoing trend. The simple fact is that the Earth is simply getting warmer. Burning fossil fuels is heating the Earth each year further and further, with an expected 1.5 degrees Celsius higher general temperature by 2032, and this will keep rising after this. It will be increasingly difficult to find locations in the future to safely host the Olympic Winter Games. Lack of snow is solvable with technology like snow machines, even if the snow quality is lower. The snow machines were introduced in 1980. Before this, the only tool they had was snow farming, saving snow from previous seasons under blankets and moving them by truck to locations where it was needed. But snow machines only work with cold temperatures. So when it was too hot at the Winter Games like in Vancouver 2010, this wasn't an option. And moving snow over from other places with trucks and helicopters isn't always a great option. Also, there are complaints and worries about the massive amount of water being used by the snow machines, what sometimes have led to water shortages. And athletes want good natural snow layers with a hard top layer for the most fair and safe competitions. In a lot of cases they also spray water on the top layer when it's freezing, so a hard top layer is created. So with all of these problems, where can we still host the Winter Games, and can we even host them in the future? The IOC ordered multiple research studies to see how future-proof the Olympic Winter Games are, and what locations are climate-proof. The researchers checked the following requirements. Is there a 90% assurance if it's freezing every night? and if there is at least 30 centimeters of snow cover. If this is the case, the location can be labeled as climate proof. For this research, they checked 93 locations, where Olympic Winter Games have been held before, or new locations where ski resorts are located. The result of what locations are climate proof stayed private to protect the resorts from bad and negative publicity. The good news is that they said in 2080, even with high emissions, 30 locations of the 93 are still available, spread out over Europe, North America and East Asia. But that doesn't mean there won't be problems at these locations. Still, there might be a chance of bad quality snow, lesser snow cover and warmer temperatures. In the calculation of high emissions, temperatures can rise up to 2.1 degrees Celsius in 2050 and 4.4 degrees in 2080. But what really gets into trouble is the Paralympic Winter Games, because these are in March, 2 weeks after the regular Winter Games. With winters becoming shorter, this is an issue. Safe locations go down by almost 50% in these situations. An option might be to move the whole Paralympic Winter Olympics in general forward 2 weeks, or host them during the regular Winter Olympics. But some locations might not have the space to host them both at the same time, so some changes might need to be made. And what will the influence be of a potential AMOC collapse in the future, as this can massively change the climate? On this topic there are also a lot of questions, but that is perhaps for another video. Since the IOC only wants to host the Winter Olympics at climate-proof locations in the future, they will have to be more adaptive. This, for example, means allowing host countries to spread their sporting facilities over a larger area than before. We can potentially already see this at the next planned Olympic Winter Games in 2030 in the French Alps, where they will only use existing sporting facilities. But since they don't have an Olympic speed skating ring, they are looking at other options. For example, they have been in talks with other countries, like the Netherlands or Italy, to host the speed skating there in their existing facilities. Another option that we've already seen at these recent Winter Games in Italy is the temporary speed ice skating track that was held in a big convention center. Something that we have also seen more recently is climate protest at these recent Winter Games. They are protesting about the waste of money and how hosting these games is hurting the climate. For example, the last Winter Games in 2026, hundreds of trees were cut for a new bobsledding track. And like I said, an issue the Olympics run into in general is the costs. This also is the case for the Winter Olympics. Here are the expected cost and the actual cost in the end. All of these more recent ones are over budget. Calgary in 1988 had an expected cost of $500 million, but in the end the costs were $829 million. And for Nagano, Japan, 1998, we don't even know, since the organization literally burned their financial administrations to hide it. We had some massive expensive games like China in 2022, with a total cost of $38.5 billion. But by far the most expensive one is Sochi, Russia, in 2014, with an expected cost of $12 billion, but with an actual cost of $55 billion. With these high costs, most Olympic Winter Games host countries lose a lot more money than that they earn with it. So it's no surprise that multiple countries have withdrawn in the last few biddings for the Winter Olympics. And there also has been massive outrage of the massive waste of some of these Olympic venues that have cost billions. A lot of these facilities lie abandoned after the games. To counter this in the future, the IOC want host countries to present a plan to make this not happen anymore and to host greener games in general. A question that is also often asked is why isn't the Winter Olympics not hosted always at the same location to save costs? And the simple answer is because of time zones and TV rights. It would not be fair if it is at difficult watch times every time for some countries. Also, questions have been asked if we should even still do the Winter Olympics considering the climate. At the same time, the Winter Olympics bring a lot of joy to people around the world. Especially in these turbulent times, the Winter Games provide much needed distraction. It gave people joy, excitement, entertainment and hope. And with these recent games, this was clearly visible, since they broke all the previous viewership records. To conclude, the Winter Olympics do have a place for the foreseeable future. But it is clear we need to change how the games are organized in a more sustainable and adaptive way. While the games will likely look different, these changes are necessary steps if we want to enjoy these amazing Olympic Winter Games for many years to come. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more videos in the future, please subscribe to VosED and like the video.